So, hello everybody. So, very warm welcome to our webinar about trustworthy and reliable AI in core processes. My name is Stefan. I'm Stefan Wolter. I'm from MSG Group, and together with my colleague from our subsidiary, Compin, would like to talk to you about several, from our perspective, very interesting topics in regards to data quality in AI, especially about reliable AI and trustworthiness. We would like to start with some kind of introduction into the challenges we actually see and conclude everything with some sample scenario from the private healthcare industry, which will be done by Miroslav. So my name is Stefan. As said, I'm a senior vice president at MSG Group and reliable for AI-based SaaS applications. I actually would like to start with a few topics. So from our perspective, and myself, I have been dealing with AI for more than 10, 15 years now. We came across several problems, especially when using these new large language models. And typically in our scenarios, when we, for instance, build solutions for information extraction and data harmonization, we learned that using diverse data sources is certainly a problem in a way that you would like to get consistent data, which means you have different data sources like emails, PDF documents, even legacy systems, or nowadays audio files or images. And as you may know, it's certainly possible to extract information out of these different kind of data sources. They still need to be harmonized to actually get the same understanding and the same semantics in order to be further processed, for instance, in another IT system. An example, for instance, is a term like DHH, which means in German Doppelhaushälfte or semi-detached house, which means actually that within different documents there might be the same word actually meaning the same meaning with the same meaning actually comes from two different words, and so we have some kind of semantic mismatches in data sets, which actually is important then to get an understanding how to process this kind of data with a certain context, for instance, in terms of reasoning, which at the end has an impact on AI accuracy, especially when you would like to have consistent data. So very often, as you may know, you run, for instance, using Microsoft Copilot, different kind of prompts, and very often you get different results, similar results, but not the same. But as you may know, in terms of further data processing, the same kind of data set with the same data, maybe with the same IDs, is absolutely necessity in order to actually streamline this core process in behind. And then if you would like to do decision making, of course, you need to have the same semantic understanding with the same data, exactly the same data. So impact on AI accuracy is certainly an issue when using AI agents nowadays. Which actually leads me to this topic of semantic context. Of course, by using retrieval augmented generation systems like RAG, it's very interesting, very good, very well possible to integrate further data sources within one prompt at the end. And this actually is something which is commonly used now, but still, when you actually need this kind of information and you need to combine this information, you need to actually understand the entities which you have maybe extracted through an information extraction or for instance, a CV classification document, and then you need to actually link it to information or entities which you get from other documents, and you need to have the same semantic context, which means actually that you need to understand that it means the same. Very often this is done actually by using vector databases or ontologies. On the other hand, without the semantic understanding, you have the issue with unstructured data. So, which means, on the other hand, if certain information is missing because you do not have the semantic understanding, it's quite difficult to get an incomplete and it's quite difficult to get the information you need additionally to these information you actually have. So, which means at the end you have incomplete and inconsistent integration, which then finally leads to manual data corrections and delays with a lot of manual work. And finally, at the end, you have still a set of data silos with different formats and different vocabularies, even if you're using AI, where you have a plan actually to optimize everything. So then using these kind of AI agents I just was mentioning, it's very often the case that you need to correctly identify and classify entities. So entities actually, for instance, words or terms or meanings can come from different data sources. They come from images, they come from PDF documents and things like that. But at the end, they need to be identified correctly and they need to be classified correctly. As an example, we are actually working in different industries, for instance, for forensics and in organized crime. And there it's absolutely necessity to identify certain objects on an image with very high F-score, with very high precision and with a very high correctness in order to really streamline the process and really to help the users. So correctly identifying is certainly a big challenge currently. Then, on the other hand, there needs to be co-reference resolved between these different kind of words. So just extracting or understanding a certain term is just one piece of the cake. The other one is to get better understanding about linking these meanings together and actually build some kind of knowledge out of it, which then maybe can be used for further training of a large language, of a model, or can be, for instance, used for improving the different kind of promptings and so on and so forth. So when you're using retrieval augmented generation or RAG systems, again, this is the issue that you need to have consistent semantically accurate querying, which means that when you have scenarios, for instance, where you need to process different kind of data and you need to make suggestions or actually calculate the risk score, the risk score should actually always be the same when it's calculated with a very similar data set. So which means it needs to be, let's say, guaranteed for the end user to be really a support for the user that it always comes with consistent semantically accurate data. And very often, as said, of course, the RAG system generates very good similar, very good correct data, but on the other hand, they need to be identical in order to for instance, be used for scoring or decision making or something like that. And of course, we do have hallucinations, which needs to be avoided. Very typical issue in AI systems, where we from MSG actually are dealing with, for instance, dedicated ontologies with ontology mapping in order to make sure that these data is processed correctly and understood correctly, so that the semantics and the context is actually then used for that kind of result we get from the large language model to avoid hallucinations. Which means then finally that we need to construct reliable vector indices in the vector database, which is then in our case used, for instance, for further searching and querying data, normally used, for instance, in typical business applications where the user, for instance, would like to search for results which has been processed by the AI agents before. So there needs to be reliable vector indices in order to be semantically correct. So, which means an accurate pre-processing of a text. Again, the incorporating of precise metadata, and for instance, the developing embedding models for the text of a natural language processing by keeping the semantic correctness, which is something very important and as that normally used with some kind of ontologies in the back. At the end, finally, and when I can conclude with my challenges, at the end, we understand that compliance and auditability is a very important topic. As you know, especially in the EU, privacy and auditability of large language models and AI is a very hot topic. So in order to make sure, for instance, even for workers' councils within organizations, it's important to get an understanding how certain decisions actually have been taken by the AI, so which means it needs to be traceable. And at the end, if you're using human in the loop processes, the human in the loop process needs to be able to get an understanding how the information has been generated so that the end user believes in that AI-based result. And only when this is done, which is something which is really the AI at the end really brings that value which it could get, but currently, yeah, not often is really done because of this kind of missing trustworthiness and traceability. So from our side, we are using our AI SaaS application, msg.SemanticBridge, which takes input data from different kind of data sources, from images, from unstructured documents, from structured documents, from audio files, and so on, takes this information and does information extraction is the first step. So we take information out of these different kind of data sources. We classify them normally, but in a second step, we take this information and we harmonize these data, and we do this by applying an ontology. An ontology in this case helps us with a dedicated vocabulary for this specific use case to add additional reasoning capabilities, which means we add semantic context to this specific data, and then we have a possibility to actually validate the correctness of this data, to actually add new information to this data, and to bring more quality, trustworthiness, and traceability in this data. Because with the ontology, we have a possibility to do some kind of mapping and matching to certain terms, for instance, to certain pieces of knowledge. And this kind of matching, again, has some kind of precision, which is then can be monitored, and at the end gives the user the overview of the quality of the data which has been actually been generated by the AI. In a third step, once we have very high, valuable, accurate data, we do have a possibility to generate new data. These can be, of course, unstructured documents. These can be dashboards. This can be, for instance, JSON files or something like that, which are then pushed to further IT systems for further processing. So it's a three-step approach. First step, information extraction. Second step, data harmonization. Third step, new data generation resulting in structured data, or if you want to, unstructured data as well. So what are the typical key features of Semantic Bridge? As said, we do semantic data mapping. So we use AI in ourselves. We use quite a lot of statistical functions, mathematical methods to take the data which have been extracted from different kind of resources, to map them in a single vocabulary, to actually make sure that the data is very valuable, is accurate, but it can be traced in order to get this transparency which is needed. There's a different kind of support for multiple data formats, assets, images, documents, and so on and so forth, which can then be included in the same semantic data mapping. At the end, it's important that we have an easy implementation. So very often, especially EU customs would like to have it running in a way where they are independent of American hyperscalers. So they would like to have it running maybe on premise, maybe in a quite open source based hosting environment, or something like that. So it's really important to be easily implemented. as well as from a subscription perspective, that the subscription is depending on the number of unstructured documents or similar kind of pricing KPIs versus having a huge installation with a huge fixed runtime. In this kind of scenario, we actually have consumption-based pricing, and in a typical customer scenario, we actually do shared cost with our customers in a way that if a customer gains certain efficiency elements, we share this kind of efficiency with our customers. Finally, advanced analytics and flexible integration is something which is absolutely needed. So we do have a possibility to really have advanced analytics features, for instance, based on this data which has been extracted, as well as, of course, dedicated AI KPIs like false positives or false negatives, F-scores, and something like that. And as it's a very thin framework which is used as SaaS, we can easily integrate it to different IT scenarios, meaning that there are different ways how to get these kind of information which has been processed by the AI into our data systems. To make it more practical, I do have some examples here. Coming from, for instance, a sector, the HR sector. So we are using this technology in another SaaS solution, which we call Profile Map for skill management and CV processing. We do have the situation that in different kind of HR applications, like a typical HR system like SAP SuccessFactors or digital personal files, training platforms, and staffing tools, there are similar data like skills, competencies, job roles, and so on and so forth, but they are actually stored with different kind of entities and IDs. So for instance, as an example, very often a skill is named differently and spelled differently in different systems. So when, for instance, would like to integrate this data to actually get information from the staffing environment, from the staffing tool, and would like to import it into the HR system, then of course it's needed that there is some kind of data mapping done, and the skills need to be called the same. This is something which is quite difficult when you don't have an AI in between which harmonizes these kind of data. Therefore, what you can see here in the middle is a skill graph. Is actually the ontology, the vocabulary, the competencies, job roles, and certificates, which is used as some kind of data integration pattern between these different kind of processes. So above you see recruiting, personal development, operational projects for staffing, and so on and so forth, which use AI itself, but actually need this high data quality in order to be able to apply the AI for these dedicated processes. And in this case, SemanticBridge does this data mapping. It actually provides this data quality to be enabled actually to get value out of AI in these kind of processes. And it works like this, for instance. We have on the left-hand side, you can see SAP S/4HANA and SAP SuccessFactors. So for instance, there's this job library in SAP SuccessFactors and project history in SAP S/4HANA. We are using different kind of skills and different project names, so the data cannot be really imported or pushed to the other system. They need to be harmonized, and we do this, for instance, by taking skills from SAP SuccessFactors. We actually map them through VAI to the projects and to the profiles of the employees. We add additional skills if necessary for predicting which kind of skills might we need in future, and provide the HR department analytics functionality for doing simulations, project simulations, upskilling simulations, and so on and so forth. Once this is done, we do have a possibility then that this data is actually imported back into SAP S/4HANA and SuccessFactors to get this information from the projects, from the skills which have been used in the projects into SuccessFactors, because this is the basis for the personal discussion the HR department has with the employees. So once we don't have this information, these personal discussions can't be done. But without such kind of ontology, it's very difficult actually to get this data matched correctly and actually using this kind of technology for optimizing these kind of processes, because otherwise, as you know, there's a lot of manual work to be done in order to get it, really efficient. So by ending this example, I would like to hand over to Miroslav, and Miroslav will actually give you an example on how to use SemanticBridge in the private healthcare industry for pre-risk inquiries.
Hello together, my name is Miroslav Mitrovic and I'm responsible for the business development at Compin, a provider for business process and third-party services in the insurance industry in Germany. I'm looking forward to present you another example of a SemanticBridge application. What we do, we are currently working on a project for a health insurer. Our use case there is the pre-risk inquiries for health insurance, for example, the picture on the left side. Here we evaluate various medical information from doctor reports, certificates, or documents, as well as individual customer details via mail or text, PDFs, in order to make an insurance offer for persons with pre-existing medical conditions, or to issue a rejection if the risk is too high for the insurance. The process requires specialized expertise and it's very time-consuming. SemanticBridge, this is on the right side, has provided us with a tool tailored to our specific requirements, enabling us to reduce our processing time by over 50%, and in some cases, even up to 60%. Then, Stefan, yes, skip, thank you. On the left side, I want to show you our key requirements. At the beginning, we have the discussion with SemanticBridge. These were special content focus. The need is to the ICD codes mapping as the professional technical context of the use case. There we need a high completeness. That means identification of relevant content, including, and this is special, aspects with interpretation potential. Not all information we read or see at the first step is to map on the ICD codes, but in the context of the information, there are sometimes situations and potential indications for medical issues. And the third thing is an easy integrability of this tool with no modification of existing applications of our customer when we need them. And of course, at the secure handling with health data, there we need high standards for data protection and data security in our service as well, but also in the tools we need for this services. And on the right side, you see the complementary solution and outcomes that lead to this increase of our productivity and quality level. The outcome is a highly reliable translation into standardized disease terms of the ICD system as a core information. Therefore, we have a comprehensive extraction and structured and potential parameters that provide a complete base for decision-making for our service agents. This means the human in the loop at these processes. And at the end, it's a support tool containing all necessary information and standardized extractions that can be used efficiently and effectively by the service agent in the existing process of our customers. And of course, full consideration of all regulatory requirements and compliance with high security standards that we can use secure in our processes and in our services to embed it in our core systems. That in a nutshell is our particular example and my contribution for today, how we use Semantic Bridge in this special case, and where we have several cases in our processes where complex information has been done by experts from our side, and where we can gain time benefits and quality benefits with the applications and use cases with Semantic Bridge. Thank you for this.
Okay, thanks a lot, Miro. So yeah, this is actually the end of our quick webinar. So I think we have enough time to take some questions. Yeah, if you have anyone, yeah, just write them into the chat so we can actually get into touch with it. So one question is, in which processes do we see requirements for high data quality in AI use cases? Typically, this is done in actually quite well-structured processes, but with some unstructured input. Very good example is, for instance, the processing of invoices from PDF documents and something like that, which needs then to be processed by using in SAP S/4HANA Cloud. As you may know, there are different kind of dedicated SAP partner applications available, but they quite often don't work with the new cloud solutions from SAP. So there needs to be a scenario, needs to be a solution which is very easily deployable, very easy to be integrated into a hybrid cloud scenario. So these kind of data can be well extracted and needs to be actually very well translated into SAP specific terminologies, IDs, and things like that, and master data. Yeah, so this is a typical type of use case. There's another question. So which impacts do you see if users don't believe in AI results? Yeah, so very good question. It actually means from our side that the adoption of AI very well is aligned with, let's say, with the belief of the users in the results of AI, which means that the typical Gartner curve now is actually a little bit going down because there is some kind of de-illusion by the users in terms of data quality they got from the AI. So we think that in order to really get the benefit from AI-based processes, the users need to believe in the quality of the data, of the results which have been actually provided by the AI. So we from our side are strongly focusing on getting high quality data from the AI process in order to really get this efficiency Miroslav just described from the private healthcare industry.
And I can say it from our side, our service agents are able in every case to see what is the extraction of the AI tool, and they see it where this when they make the deep dive, where in the documents are these informations and how they're extracted in a systematic way. And over the time, with every transaction they do in the past, they see the confidence level is increasing, and this effect you get when you do this. And from the practice you do this, you increase also the trust in the tool, but it's also a special use case you need that you have the trust increasing.
Thank you, Miroslav. And finally, where do you see, there's another question, where do you see the biggest obstacles for quick adoption of AI? You said data quality, but of course we have a situation in Europe with data privacy, so it's currently a very heavily discussed topic to make sure that the data for the AI model actually kept absolutely private. On the other hand, it's necessary that the users get this belief into the AI solution, so which means that the AI itself needs to really get the data, really needs to provide the quality, the dedicated semantically correct quality of the content it creates in order to really be helpful for the end user. And this is from our side an absolutely must in order to be able to really get this adoption of AI. If not, I think there will be more disillusionation coming, because then they see AI more like a tool which is nice to use. It's working on several situations, but it's not as helpful as it actually has been claimed, let's say, by the AI vendors. So are there any more questions? Okay, if not, so please don't hesitate to contact me. You can see my address here. You see my address here. Please get in touch if you need some further information. For instance, these slides I just showed to you. Yeah, then thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot, Miroslav. Take care. Have a good day, and see you later. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.